All right, I will start.
There we go.
Hey, Billy, appreciate you doing this. I guess first I was just going to ask, since we haven't fully talked to you, except for after the game, like what was your process of coming to Maryland and deciding to transfer here? And I know your brother is up here. So like, what are your brother's ties with Loxley and the program?
I mean, coming here, obviously when I entered the portal, I was just looking for a good opportunity to have some sort of, opportunity to play in the fall. When I entered the portal, I was obviously reached out by a lot more schools than I think I anticipated. But when I got the opportunity here, it really seemed like a perfect fit just because, relatively, obviously my brother being here, but how close to home it was. And I'm a lot more familiar with this coaching staff than I think people may know about in terms of Coach Locks, Coach Enos, Coach Miller. When they were all at Alabama, I went to a couple of summer camps with them when I would be down there with my brother. So I've known them. They've known me since I was in like 7th or 8th grade. So that was obviously, I felt very comfortable with their staff. And obviously, my dad went here for a couple of years. My brother works here. It really felt like, the perfect fit in terms of being close to home and get able to get a good opportunity to play Division I football and get a degree. So.
And when you're going through the transfer process, I mean, I'd assume every quarterback is kind of doing the math on eligibility of the guy who's the current starter. I mean, is that something you're looking at, seeing how you might fit in eventually to being a starter?
Yeah, I mean, I think definitely with the COVID year and the transfer portal rule, I mean, that's something everyone, takes into consideration. But I think at the end of the day, while that is a factor, it was kind of more of like scheme as far as how I fit in, familiarity with the coaches and kind of what can I see myself playing there in the future. And if I do see myself, can I be successful, within the system and with the environment that I'm put in. So I definitely, took that into consideration. I won't even say I didn't, but I think there was obviously bigger factors that it came down to that ended up, having me make my decision to come here.
We'll go to Andy.
Hey, Billy. I kind of want to ask about those Alabama camps you talked about. When you're like a teenager and you go down there and you're hanging with your brother and with those, other Alabama quarterbacks, like what was that kind of like just as a teenager kind of being with guys of that level?
It was awesome. I mean, I think I went down there going into my freshman year, going into my sophomore year and junior year. And just to be around, obviously my brother and all his teammates, that was kind of my first time, I guess, getting an up close look at like what a Division I facility is like, all that things. It was definitely an eye-opening experience. I learned a ton from him. Coach Enos, Coach Miller was the offensive grad assistant at the time there. So I worked with him a lot during my camp. And then we're obviously like with all the quarterbacks there, their quarterback room was obviously very talented in the couple of years that I went there. So being able to go to camp and get kind of like, work with them in the drills and throw next to them and whatnot. So those 2 or 3 summers that I went down there for those camps were obviously very cool. And it was fun to obviously outside of that, I was able to, go visit my brother and spend a week or 2 with him.
That's awesome. Yeah. I'm trying to think of timeline in my head. I'm forgetting Tua wasn't there when you went, right? Or
no, he was.
Oh, he was. Okay.
He was. Yeah. So that was, I think my first year going there, my first summer going there was after Tua's freshman year. So I was there for all the good years.
It's kind of funny, I'm assuming, you and your brother or your brother and Tua together. Now you and Talia together as a sibling duos in the quarterback room.
That's right. Yep.
I wanted to go back to Lake Braddock for a second. When you were a sophomore, rising sophomore, kind of filling the shoes of Jack, who had just got a state record for completions and all that. What was that kind of process mentally for you, replacing a guy that had, I mean, those are kind of big shoes to fill in and you had to step in as a sophomore?
I mean, I think it was definitely intimidating at first, but I think the off season and all the workouts we had, I remember that senior class did a really good job as far as kind of taking me under their wing. And guys like Ronnie Altman, Quinn James, Joe Whiting, or all the older guys did a good job as far as instilling confidence in me and kind of taking me under their wing. And just, kind of keeping me relaxed, keeping me level-headed, my head on straight, kind of, you got this, you prepare, just as good as anyone else on the team. You've made all these throws multiple times in practice, so you kind of just got to go out there and do the same thing in the game. Don't make it bigger than it is, which is definitely, I learned a lot of lessons going, making that jump from my freshman to sophomore year that I've taken with me for the rest of my high school, playing and now into college. But just, don't make it bigger than it is. And as long as you prepare the right way, then, everything should take care of itself come, when you got to do it in a game.
I suppose it's like a little bit different when you're replacing a guy like Talia mid-game, as you've done twice this year. But like, were there lessons maybe even from high school that you kind of take, you still like kind of lean on when you go into the middle of an Indiana game, or if you're playing this weekend, whatever it might be?
I mean, yeah. I mean, I think definitely lessons that I've taken, but I've also been blessed, to be around two really good teams in terms of the people I was surrounded by. Because in both those, scenarios, whether I was in high school or college now, I've been put into games as, the backup or not the starter initially, whatever. And all my teammates have done a really good job as far as like rallying around me, giving me support. So I think mentally that helps me obviously a lot to get settled in. In terms of the lessons I've learned from being a sophomore and getting put in those bigger shoes early, is just prepare the right way. And if you do the right things, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, it obviously makes it a lot easier to do it Saturday. So that's obviously, I'd say those are the biggest two things, that I've been able to take away since kind of having to fill that role in high school.
We'll go to Varun.
Hey, Billy. Wanted to ask on that note about preparation, what do you do during the games? On a normal day if Talia is healthy, what is your just activity like on the sideline?
I usually stand really far in front of the offense or really far behind to watch, to kind of try to put myself in Talia's shoes. Like Coach Locke's, one of the first or second game was like, stand back there, watch your coverage, see what the defense is doing, make sure, because obviously you never know when your number's going to get called. So I stand, if anyone looks, I'm like 30 yards in either direction, just kind of watching, seeing the play call, seeing whatever we got called, and kind of putting it in my head. If I was out there standing where Talia was, what would I be thinking right now? What am I anticipating from the defense? And what would my reaction be if that was the case? So just try to stay locked in as best as possible, because I think it's very easy. There's a lot of distractions, especially on the sideline, that you may see if you're not playing and kind of locked in the game all the time. So just try to stay locked in, because obviously you never know when it all could change in a play or two.
Yeah, and so you're staying locked in. Does that get exhausting or frustrating at times where you're staying locked in but you're not coming into the game?
No, I think if you stay locked in, and I'm almost like a part of the game, even though I'm not playing. So while times, it could be more like stressful if I'm sitting there watching like the play happen when in the game, you're not thinking about it. You're just you're going with your level, what you've prepared for. That may be it, but I don't think it's frustrating. I think, if anything, it makes it a little bit more intense for me when I'm sitting there watching it like play out on the sideline.
And then on the note about preparation, when you stepped into this role as starting quarterback in high school as a sophomore, you're around much older kids, right? And you have to get them to kind of listen to you. Did the preparation, like how much you prepared, did that help you, tell them like, hey, I'm serious about this? And is that something you're bringing here?
Oh yeah. I mean, I think there's both, similarities and differences from that scenario to here. I think definitely there, I obviously had a little bit longer of an off season with them in terms of the workouts. I think that was the biggest thing for me. I think here that it definitely was the same thing. To some extent in the summer with all the conditioning and fall camp, going through those tough workouts, you obviously you kind of gain a lot of respect for teammates. You get closer, you come together, and that's how you stay committed and connected with that thing. In terms of the building the confidence, and obviously it's tough being a younger player when trying to lead, but with older guys that are good leaders, it kind of makes it easier on you. And I think just as long as I continue to prepare the right way and gain confidence in myself, it'll be easier to, gain confidence in my teammates as they, see me doing the right thing. We get, the timing down on routes, whatever, then it'll just be easier to, have that, meshing go well on Saturday. So, we don't feel any differences from whether Talia's playing, I'm playing, whatever it is.
We'll go to Ben.
Hey, Billy. Curious about, what's your relationship like with Talia, and what kind of things have you learned from him since coming to Maryland?
A lot. Definitely, coming in the summer, learning the offense at a very fast pace. Talia and the whole quarterback room, they've been nothing but great in terms of helping me. But outside of football, I mean, Talia's great. We're always joking. Playing games with each other. We talk a lot outside of football, whether I see him at the apartment or wherever. But he's been nothing but great. And obviously, I always try to pick his brain. He's obviously been in college football a lot longer than me, to just try to get whatever I can from him, whether it's playing, how you prepare, practice, whatever it is, a certain route concept. Like we're always talking ball in terms of whether we're playing a team or in fall camp. Is probably when I learned the most, just because I was trying to take the most strides in a short amount of time. But he's been nothing but great, and the whole quarterback room really welcomed me with open arms in the off season. So it's definitely been a good time in there.
Right. We kind of saw what you can do running the ball against Indiana, but Loxley says that you're more similar to Talia in the sense that you can really throw the ball. How would you describe your style of play in that sense?
I mean, I'd say, yeah, I mean, I'd like to think I can get it, done throwing the ball and running as well. I mean, at the end of the day, it's kind of whatever the defense allows for us to do, in terms of whatever they, if they want to load the box, we're obviously got to throw the ball. If they want to give us light numbers and I get some good reads, then I can pull the ball and put my head down and run when I need to. I think being in this offense, it allows, us to be very multiple, and take advantage of, whether I need to run the ball or throw the ball. So I'd say whatever the defense gives us, I feel confident in my abilities to, take what they give us and make the best of it.
And finally, what just type of intangibles would you say that you bring to the team just from a locker room, off the field type of perspective?
I mean, I think the biggest benefit, my dad is a high school football coach. He's been for, I think, like 34 years now. So being a coach's kid, being around the game of football my whole life, I just think, I feel like I can understand a team very well, and obviously try to be a leader of the team, and understand what it takes to get a group of guys to come together and commit towards a common goal, something that's bigger than ourselves. So I think that's definitely been, something that I've been blessed to, kind of be born into, I guess you could say, with my dad and my brother and the football background we have. But that's definitely something, every time I step into a new locker room, new team, whatever it is, that I look to kind of take and bring with me in terms of, being a good leader and allowing, the team to see that I take my stuff seriously and whatnot.
Go back to Emily.
Hey, Billy, one very specific or two specific questions. Loxley says you take 40% of the reps in practice. I just want to make sure I'm understanding that right. So that's like 40% of like with the first team offense, or what does that mean?
It depends. It depends on the given team period. But I mean, I'd say it honestly depends on the day, because obviously with the flow of the season, as you get later into it, there's no really, ones and twos anymore, if that makes sense. You just kind of, you get the reps with whoever's out there at that point. And they do a good job as far as rotating constantly. So we're not always throwing to the same receivers. We're not always working with the same backs and whatnot. So we're comfortable, myself, Talia, whoever's out there, quarterback, whoever's out there at any position is comfortable with whoever they have to go on the field with at the time.
And then Loxley told us that when he was recruiting you, you reminded him of Andy Dalton, not just because you're redheaded. I was just wondering if he ever told you that, or if you ever.
Yeah, he's told me that. Andy Dalton, he's told me, and then a little bit of fire for Mac Jones, he's told me as well. I guess Mac Jones had an edge to him, so I guess those are two good names to be compared to. But I'm sure as my time here goes along, I'm sure they'll be, it'll change. I'm sure I'll remind him of somebody.
Go back to Varun.
On the note about practice snaps, you guys, obviously Talia's a game time decision. Does the breakdown in snaps between you and him change at all this week? Just because, you have an increased chance of starting than you would on a normal week?
No, I'd say that it's very similar. I mean, I'd say on the whole week, I maybe will take 10 more than I have in the past weeks, but it's very similar to what it is every other week. So definitely, take the reps I get, and then whenever I'm not in, try to get a mental rep, talk to Talia, talk to Eric, whoever, the quarterback is in at the time, just so we can continue to do what we do on a week-to-week basis and prepare, the best that we can.
And has anything changed from that Monday to Friday process with you being in more of a position to start than before? Maybe not in your preparation, but in maybe how other people around you are talking to you?
No, I mean, I think that's when we had our team meeting Monday, Coach Locks talked about going back to the basics and, just don't make it bigger than it is. Go back to the basics, stick to your level of training, and everything will take care of itself. So that's definitely what I've been telling myself all week. And I think the team responded to that well. I think we're just, going back, treating it like a fall camp, one practice, all locked in, both, mentally when we're not in, physically, whether we're in the rep, and just prepare the right way Monday through Friday. Because as we figured out, multiple times throughout the season, if you do the right things Monday, Wednesday, and on, everything kind of will take care of itself Saturday. It'll come a lot easier to us.
We'll go to Wes.
Hey, Billy, obviously you started off 0 for 3 there, throwing the ball against Indiana. I'm kind of curious about the pros and cons of Maryland having, so many passing, targets there. Does it maybe make it, easier for you to, get used to first team reps, knowing that you could be throwing to any of the, 10 receiving targets you guys have during practice? But does that sometimes also make it harder in the game to, develop that connection when you have to go in on a short-term basis?
I'd say I wouldn't say there's any like, fault to it. I think our receiver room is loaded. So I think it makes it easier for me to come in and know that whoever is out there, whether it's an older guy or Octavian Smith, a younger guy that's playing at the time, that I have all the confidence in them. I think they have all the confidence in me with what we've been able to do in practice and get, our timing down. So I think it definitely makes it easier in terms of, across the board. When I look to my left and I look to my right, I know I'm going to have a playmaker out there. And, I have, full trust and confidence in them to do their job and win their route. And they have the same in me to get them the ball.
All right. Is everyone good?
Can I ask one follow-up? Where does your dad coach?
Currently at Annandale High School, but he's he started at Annandale, coached there for, I want to say like 20 something years. And then was at Lake Braddock when my brother was there, left, went to like Annandale and Oakton, came back to Lake Braddock when I was there. And now he's back at Annandale.
Cool.
All right. Thank you for your time, Billy.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.